story out there, and this is sad. A grand jury in Ohio has decided not to indict two police officers. This is a sad story, I mean, of a young 12-year-old boy who was shot to death. Everyone agrees that this was a tragedy. Now, the details are an officer in training shot Tamir Rice last year as he held a pellet gun outside a recreation centre. All this happening in Cleveland. A dispatcher sent police to the scene without telling them Rice was a juvenile or that the gun may have been a fake, which is what was called in on that 911 call. The county prosecutor called Rice's death a tragedy, but said it's not clear the officers acted criminally.
On close examination, especially of what is perhaps the most critical piece of evidence, a very recent enhancement of the surveillance video by an expert laboratory often relied upon by the FBI, it is now indisputable that Tamir was drawing his gun from his waist as the police slid toward him and Officer Lohman exited the car.
Okay, so Ariva, the criticism that some are making, in particular the family of Tamir Rice, is the way Mr. McGinty, the prosecutor there, directed the grand jury. Prosecutors usually run a grand jury, though, don't they?
Yeah, this is really a galling case when you think about it. This prosecutor really began the process of preparing this community for a no indictment some months ago. He started releasing reports that he went out and sought from experts to support his conclusion.
Is that allowed, or is that usual?
It's unusual. It's highly unusual for a prosecutor to do that, to find exculpatory evidence for the police officer. His job is to take evidence into the grand jury that would lead to an indictment. He is supposed to present the evidence that would allow for a probable cause determination to be made. And he did just the opposite. In this case, he really put himself in the position of the defense attorney, and he found these experts to issue these reports.
So with that in mind, I want to run through a couple of things very quickly. Was it wrong or unusual for McGinty to recommend to the grand jury that no charges be filed?
Yeah, turning the grand jury process on its head. The grand jury process is there to allow these jurors to look at all the evidence and to make this very low threshold determination of probable cause, not to find guilt or innocent, but is there enough evidence to proceed to a trial to determine whether a crime in fact was committed? And clearly there was enough evidence in this case.
Wrong or unusual for McGinty to allow two officers, the ones involved in this, to take an oath, read out prepared statements, and then not go under cross-examination?
Not be cross-examined. Again, he put himself in the position of a defense attorney and apparently went into the grand jury, although it's a secretive process from what we're learning, and he provided that information, that evidence. Absolutely wrong. When you think about what the grand jury's job is and what a prosecutor's job is.
Illegal?
Not necessarily illegal, but let me tell you this. The state of California has a new law just signed by the governor in 2015, which will prevent the use of grand juries in cases of police excessive force cases and hopefully eliminate what we're seeing in cases like Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, and Eric Gardner.
So essentially what we're looking at now is an argument that many people are making across the country, that in police officer involved shooting instances, that the prosecutor should not be involved in a grand jury.
The relationships are too close, and we've seen now too many incidents where the prosecutors aren't willing to step up and charge and hold police officers accountable. And I think this is the most egregious case that we've seen in the Tamir Rice case.
Reva, thanks for coming in.
Thanks,
There's a lot going on. We appreciate all your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.